Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. I am Drank. He is Champagne. Mr. Andrew Champagne, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. We missed a week last week. We're back after a 2-week rest. Saratoga has officially come and gone for the summer, so a lot of my time every night has been freed up. But from my standpoint, a pretty successful meet. And the last week has actually seen a fair bit of traveling from yours truly, complete with a rant that I have been waiting to unveil on this show, Josh. You're welcome. I've saved this. I've saved this just for you and for all of our watchers and listeners on the On the Wrong Lead network. Speaking of which, if you are watching us on YouTube, first of all, welcome. We appreciate that. Go on down below. If you're not subscribed yet, click that subscribe button, click the like button. Everything you click down there, with the exception of that downward button, really helps us out and allows us to be able to give content like this to you just as much as we can. But last weekend, Josh, I took a trip. I was probably a week late with it, but I went to upstate New York. Unlike a whole bunch of people that went between mid-July and Labor Day, I went the first full weekend in September, but the reason for that was pretty good. I went to play in a member guest golf tournament with my father at Kopek Golf Club, which is about 45 minutes south of Saratoga, in the middle of nowhere between Albany and the border with Massachusetts. Had a lot of fun. Was a very good time. Happy we were able to do that. Here's where the rant comes in, Josh. It's a member guest golf tournament, so it's a twosome. A member brings a guest, right? Pretty straightforward. The tournament was won by neither a member nor a guest. The owner of Kopek played the tournament and won the tournament. This did not go over well, nor should it have. The owner does not pay membership dues. The owner should not be eligible to win prizes from a member guest golf tournament. Having said that, it was a wonderful time. If you know me at all, you know I'm very, very close with my father. Shout out to the people at the Kopek Golf Club for their hospitality and their kindness. It was a lot of fun. Had a good time. Desperately needed a good time after a rough couple of weeks personally, but thinking the worst is behind me. In addition to all of that, if you've seen my social media, you know I've launched a Substack. That's going to be free for the month of September. Still trying to figure out a steady stream of content for that. But if you want to, go over there, search my name. It'll come up. It's called The Smart Bunny. We'll have horse racing stuff. We'll have sports betting stuff. We'll have online casino stuff. Still sort of trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But if you want to be able to see all of my stuff, that's a good way to do it.
Nice. How do you guys do in the golf tournament?
We finished about middle of the pack. My dad is a single-digit golf handicap. He's very good. I go 6'5". I'm way up here. The ball's way down there. It usually doesn't go well for me. But my goal coming cross country was to help him on one hole, just one hole out of 18. The way it works is each handicap gets a certain number of strokes per particular hole. I wound up helping on 3 holes, including the last 2. So I wasn't completely useless. I am nowhere close to the worst member guest partner he has ever had. I am not risking offending anybody because the guy that is the worst member guest partner he's ever had is no longer with us. So at a minimum, I beat that guy. We were able to at least take my score on a couple of holes there, and that helped us beat a couple of people. The way they had the tournament finishing, though, we were never going to win it. So they took the 4 low scores and they did what's called a horse race from about 150 yards out. So it takes the combined strokes of the 2 people and they eliminate the highest score every round. That would not have gone well for me. I would have had to play really talented people at scratch, not getting any strokes. That's not my game at all whatsoever. So that would not have ended well for me. But it was a great time. Happy I was able to do that. We got called in because of a tornado warning for a little over an hour. That was fun. We actually made the weather map, which is pretty impressive because Kopek is a very small little town in the middle of nowhere. But it made the weather map. My dad was very, very proud of that.
Nice. Yeah, I'm actually I'm going out, I think, on Saturday to play with a buddy of mine.
Nice.
We played probably about a month ago, and It was the first time I played in a while. I shot like a 110, which not my best score, but at the same time, I told myself I didn't want to shoot like a 120, and Matt from You've Got to Be Shot Tinning Me said, I had sent him a couple of videos of my stroke, and he's like, nah, he's like, it looks like you'd probably shoot about a 110, and so he nailed it. Not just
Of
doesn't
course he does.
right.
Of course he does.
So yeah, it's not just Hong Kong. Although I know he had a rough start the first couple days of the Hong Kong meet, but we'll be bouncing back. I think I haven't talked to him yet, but I'm hoping this week we're going to be able to do live stuff as well as our normal little podcast. So we'll see how that goes, but. Yeah, excited to get back out with my buddy. I played a round maybe a couple weeks ago, the Friday before Labor Day, with our good friend Brian, aka Mr. Backclass, aka Duransky, aka what other names did he go by on Twitter?
Oh, from
Um,
the good old days.
yeah,
How's he doing? He doing
yeah,
good?
he's doing well. Yeah, so
Cool.
we got out and got to play a a round at a course that neither of us had played, and yeah, we had a really good time. He made the mistake of putting brand new grips on his clubs the night before or
Oh
the day
no.
the day before, but new grips aren't usually a big deal. But he changed the size and like the amount, like so he was doing something completely different, and then he just started pulling the ball like all the time. So it took him, I think, a little bit to get used to him, but. No, we had a good time. I shot a 105, so a little bit more respectable, trying to get down into the high 90s, and um, I'll feel all right. So, but yeah, excited to get out, and tomorrow I have my company party for our summer party. So got a lot of stuff going on next couple days, but should be fun. Should be a good weekend. And last week was kind of a bit of an off weekend. Obviously, it was Kentucky Downs big weekend. And yeah, like the racing schedule. We get kind of like we get a little breather here, right? We get a couple of weeks, I think, at least a week here where nothing too crazy. We're taking a night off of stream. You raising your hand?
It is not a quiet week for reasons we're going to discuss after we go through Friday's late pick four at Churchill. There's something very, very exciting that I think we can go through. But no, it certainly last week was a quieter week. I will say there was at least one person at the bar at Copake who was very upset that we were watching the weather radar and not FanDuel TV for live coverage of Kentucky Downs, because for some reason he does very well at Kentucky Downs. We all sort of mocked him for that because I'm going to be honest with you folks, when it comes to Kentucky Downs, I have no idea which way is up at that place. I have no idea. I've tried. I can't figure it out. The one wager that I have a positive ROI on long term from Kentucky Downs, they don't offer anymore. I am, of course, referring to the Jockey 7, which was a fantastic idea from our friend CJ Johnson. And unfortunately, when he left, so did that wager. And when he left, they started doing things like loading horses in the wrong gate and having batteries go out in the starting gate. Yeah, leave that right there just as much as we can. But as we mentioned, we're going to be taking a look at the late pick four at Churchill Downs on Friday, September 12th. Action returns to Churchill on Thursday of this week. Friday is day 2 of the meet. I looked at this card and I thought the late pick four sequence was actually a pretty good one. I think we're going to be seeing pretty big fields, and I think that opens things up for the potential for a nice score in this late pick four, which starts in race 7 and goes through the 10th and final. Right away, I can see we do not have a consensus ticket. My eagle eyes look at the ticket construction available on drf.com. They say Josh has a single. I have a single as well, and it's a different one. So, Josh, I think I know the answer to this question already, but tell me what you like about horse number 8, Just Deeds.
Speed.
Yep. If nothing else, you are reliable.
Yeah, I mean, outside drawn speed here in the 8. Now, the interesting thing is they have this rated as a fast pace, right? So it's a 2-year-old allowance race going 6 furlongs. Timeform's got this rated fast pace. And, I'm trying to figure out why they think that. My guess is they think that because there's a lot of horses that have won going wire to wire or sitting just off the pace here, right? But when I kind of look at this race, it very much looks like the 8 is the speed of the speed. And, I don't see any other horse that's got over 100 on the time form scale of early pace. So while I can see, hey, yeah, this is probably going to be, you know, that there's a couple of horses here that maybe want to be close up on the lead. I just think this horse is faster than everybody else early, and I think he's going to kind of play catch me if you can here. And in 2-year-old stake and 2-year-old races, early 2-year-old races, I always feel like those are speed is always very, very dangerous, especially at Churchill Downs. So I like the 8 Just Deeds. I did take a look at the 6 a little bit. But that was a horse that kind of, did take a step forward when going from the maiden race to the stakes race. Lost to a really nice horse in Comport in there, and did improve his time form figure, but even with that improvement, it still wasn't better than what they gave Just Deeds in their maiden race. So if Just Deeds takes a step forward from that, I think he's going to be tough to beat in here. So I'm singling the 8 Just Deeds. But where did you kind of land here?
So I saw the speed with Just Deeds, and of course, you see a horse win by more than 9 lengths at first asking, you're going to look twice at that horse. I think there's other early speed in the race, however. Maybe not quite as fast as Just Deeds, but I don't think he's going to sit the kind of trip that he sat last time out against a field at Horseshoe Indianapolis that I didn't think was very good. I thought Just Deeds blew the doors off of an inferior group, and I do think he's facing a much, much better group in here. I don't like him on top, and in fact, I don't like him in second either. I think horse number 7, Ganas, is actually meriting a pretty good shot in here as well. Winning first time out for a barn that doesn't win with a lot of first time starters, did so showing a little bit of speed, but not necessarily needing the lead in order to run well. There is other early speed in this particular race. I think number 2, Naughton, is going to have to go early. Number 4, Wild and Crazy Guy, ships in from Monmouth. I think that one goes early as well. I also think you may very well see a little bit more early speed from number 5, Mr. Sensei, who stalked the pace last time out going 5 furlongs at Horseshoe Indianapolis. I ultimately landed on horse number 6, Papa Ken, your 2-1 morning line favorite. Papa Ken won first time out, ran very well that day in doing so, then tried Stakes Company at Ellis Park last time out. We've talked about Comport already. He's a very fast horse. Spice Runner, the horse that ran second in that race, is no joke either. I think Papa Ken has shown more to this point. I think he could very well still be improving. You see Yalpan on the top, that's a lot of speed, but you see a Blame mare on the bottom. That indicates the horse may still have some room to move forward. I see a couple of nice workouts for Steve Asmussen. I see Tyler Gaffleone hopping aboard. I think Papa Ken is a very legitimate favorite, and I'm just not sold on the figure or the field that Just Deeds put up last time out. I think this is a significantly tougher spot, and I think there's a chance that either he regresses or others wind up going early and make his life just a little bit more difficult. If that winds up happening, I think Papa Ken sits the candy-ass trip. Copyright Caleb Knight, all rights reserved. How's it going, buddy? And I think he's the one that winds up stalking and pouncing late. He's a single for me here. I do think that we see one thing pretty similarly low, and that is you want a single here because there's a couple races in this sequence that are very, very difficult, and you're going to want some coverage.
Yeah, I ended up going 4 wide in 2 of these legs, which is not something I normally do. So I definitely did think that, you had to take a stand somewhere. I'm taking a stand here with the 8. You're taking a stand here with the 6. We move on to race 8, which I thought was a much more wide open race here. We have a 2-year-old dirt maiden race going 6 furlongs here. And yeah, in this race, your morning line favorite is going to be, I think, the 11 Into the Beast at 7-2. And then you get 9-2 on Holy Seven. You get 5-1 on Fuzzbuster. And then it just gets wide open. You get a bunch of horses at 8-1, double digits on other horses. And, you know, yeah, I don't know. What did you kind of see in this race?
Watch the tote board very, very, very carefully because here you have a morning line favorite in the 11 Into the Beast. Into the Beast has put up a number of very, very, very fast workouts after selling for $475,000 at OBS back in March. There is a chance Into the Beast has a lot of talent, but Dale Romans doesn't usually have his first time starters fully cranked. The form that I have shows him at 4% with 103 first time starters. Do I want to actively play that horse and lean on that horse at his likely price? I need to use him, but it's not like I'm overly enthusiastic about that one in a straight win bet or a straight pick 3 bet or anything like that. I'm going 5 deep in here. My top pick is actually horse number 8, Holy Seven, who goes out for the Asmussen Gaffleone tag team. There's a couple of nice works on this one. Buy into Mischief out of a mare named Road to Victory, who herself was a very, very nice runner. I see a couple of good 5 furlong works at Churchill back in August. I think there's a chance this one may want a little bit more ground, given the couple of 5 furlong works pretty early on. But I also think there's a chance this one has some talent and that they may well wind up betting the wrong offspring of Into Mischief, given that that sire also throws the 11 Into the Beast. I mentioned I'm going 5 deep in here. That includes an also eligible, and that's the 13 Floco Vivo. Some very good works for that one for a trainer that hits at 22% first time out. If that one winds up running, I think ignoring him is a mistake. The pedigree indicates that maybe he wants turf, but I'm looking at those works, and the works mean business. The other 2 that I'm going to give out are the 2 Fuzzbuster, who ran reasonably well to be third first time out. And I will also use horse number 6, K-Borg, who's 8-1 on the morning line. You see a couple of nice works down in Florida for Jose D'Angelo. That's a high percentage barn. Luis Saez sees fit to ride at a minimum. This one should show some early speed. I'm 2, 6, 8, 11, 13 in here. There's a chance I scratch down if Floco Vivo does not draw in. But if that one does draw in, I think you need to use the horse. And I'm looking at your A's. It looks like you agree, Josh.
Yeah. My top pick in this race is probably going to be the 2 Fuzzbuster. First time out, got a 60 buyer for that figure, and obviously, 92 on the time form scale. That's a pretty solid figure for 2-year-olds. Obviously, we were looking back at race 7, right? We're looking at an allowance race, and you're looking at horses that have run in the 80s, right, in these allowance races. So, a horse that's run a 92 here in a previous maiden is pretty good. So I like this horse coming back. This horse has got some very, very fast works. And I just looks primed in here. Came off that August 22nd race and just fired another bullet. So, I think the 2 Fuzzbuster is definitely in here as my top selection. Agree with you about the 13. Probably my second choice in here if this horse draws in. This is another horse that's been training very, very well. And this is a barn that loves to win first time out, that loves to win 2-year-old stakes races. 30%, I have 30% in 20 starts and 32% with 2-year-olds here. I mean, that's just, those are just bonkers stats. Julian Leparoux sees fit to ride here. He's 1 for 5 when teaming up with Rohan. And I think that this 13 is going to be super, super live. We've seen these flameaways win early at 2 years old very often. So I like the 13 in here. I obviously the 11 would probably be a more prominent pick if, not for Dale Romans, just kind of lack of ability to win first time out very often. He's one who normally needs one or two starts before he really gets his horses going. I see 7% over 45 starts, but I read sees fit to ride here. This is another horse that's been firing bullets. So, I think your advice of watching the tote board is probably good, but I mean, this is a horse going to get bet. It's a West Point horse. There's going to be that West Point money. It's an expensive purchase, and it's Dale, in his backyard. So I think this horse is going to take a lot of money.
And
But
it's IRAD too, 5 for 6 with Dale Romans. That's 83%. That's pretty good, right, Josh?
yep, the last horse I have on here is a horse that you kind of look at and you're like, what the heck? And that's the 3 Frontier Justice, 20 to 1 on the morning line, and you know last time out, this is a horse that basically just ran up the track at Ellis Park, first time out. And what I thought was interesting about this horse is you kind of look at the preps in the workouts to that first start, right? And you see the workouts, they look okay, they look fine. Horse goes out and just runs up the track. Horse comes right back at Turfway Park and fires a 47, a bullet, breezing out of the gate. 47 seconds flat for 4 furlongs. I mean, maybe that race was just a glorified workout, and we're gonna get this horse coming in here, off of just an absolute just bullet of a work there. And you look at the trainer stats, and they tend to be pretty good for second time starters and 2 year olds. So maybe there's something here with this horse. Maybe this is a horse that just needed a start. James Graham sees fit to ride here. So yeah, I thought Frontier Justice was worth taking a shot at a long price, especially because I am going to be narrow in the leg 1 and leg 3. So I thought as kind of a day maker, a ticket maker, I thought this 3 was worth a shot. So I'm 2, 3, 11, and 13 in here.
I just want to take note of this. Tis the Law sires both the 2 and the 3. I know one of your favorite horses of all time.
Mm-hmm.
On a more serious note, the firster that I'm interested in seeing if he takes money actually breaks directly to Frontier Justice's outside. That's the 4 Corona d'Oro. I see Bolt d'Oro on top. I see Lemon Drop Kid on the bottom. I think that might be turf, and I think he may want to go a little bit longer. I see some workouts that are not bad. This is another instance where I think you want to watch the tote board because Dallas Stewart, he's sneaky and he can get a horse ready to go at a price. So this is an instance where the tote board is going to be your friend. We don't have a lot in the way of proven form to go off of here, but if the 13 does not run, I may well throw the 4 in and keep the original ticket price.
Race 9, we got a optional claimer here. We're gonna be going 6.5 furlongs on the main track, and you got a couple of horses in here with a little bit of a name. Obviously 3 Technique, $1 million winner, and Kavad is another horse that's been just kind of knocking around Churchill Downs, and has got a really good record at Churchill Downs. He's got 4 wins and 9 starts here at Churchill Downs. But I kind of saw this race, and Andrew, I mean, tell me if you've heard this before, but I think I'm just going to take the 2 horses that are going to get out in the front and hope for the best. I think the number 2 Champlin is probably your inside drawn speed. Maybe a little bit worried that last time out in the stakes race, he got out in the lead and then basically just, folded. But I mean, the horses he was running with in that race, Banishing, Booth, Hear Me Song. I mean, those horses aren't here. Those are it's a different class of horse, and this is a horse that was last seen running second here at Churchill Downs to Fort Bragg, who's a really nice horse. So I think Champlin here is a proven horse. It's been a while since he's won. Those the fall meet last year, but I think that he's gonna be able to kind of have it his own way on the front end. He might get the Caleb TM candy ass trip here and just be able to, just go wire to wire. And if not, I thought the 7 Harrodsburg is another horse that has got a shot to maybe try and take this wire to wire. He's outside drawn, so that's really the only reason I kind of I have him as my second choice, but I'm using both of them equally here. And yeah, he's going to be outside drawn, and I think he's going to have to probably track, unless he's just going to go full send and go. Gets Jaime Torres, who, loves to send horses. He loves to get these horses on the front end. So, maybe he gets something like he did last time here at Churchill Downs, where he's able to kind of get out there and set some reasonable fractions. Last time I came up a little short, but Two Back was able to win and beat at least one horse that was in here, the 5 Cat on Time. So on time form, these look like the 2 fastest horses. On early pace, these look like the 2 fastest horses. And usually at Churchill Downs, if you're the earliest horse, the fastest horse early, and you got decent speed figures, you tend to do all right. So I'll go with just the 2 and the 7 here. Andrew, where did you land?
Well, we agree on the likely race shape in the 2 and the 7, both being early speed. I do think the morning line on Champlin is wrong. I think he's coming way down from that 9-2 morning line price. And Josh, at his likely price, I can't bet him. I don't think he's considerably faster than the 7 Harrodsburg. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing the DRF time form figures. But if you're looking at other sets of past performances that are out there, including some DRF products, if you go to Harrodsburg's last race, horse number 7 in the program, can you do that for me, Josh? Just scroll down. Thank you. Do me a favor, click on that last race and tell me the first quarter fraction. Understanding that time is not everything, tell me that first quarter fraction.
20 and change, 20.4.
That's pretty quick.
Yep.
And if you look, he got nosed by a stakes quality horse in Nash. The 3rd place finisher, Discreet Mischief, is a nice horse that ran a big race earlier this year at Keeneland, I believe, won by 7 some odd lengths. Harrodsburg ran massive that particular day, and I think his best race beats the best race of Champlin. The question is, do both of those horses punch each other out? Does one horse put the other away at the top of the stretch, and then all the warning lights start coming on? I went with Harrodsburg of the 2 speed horses, but I'm also going to use the 2 horses directly to Harrodsburg's inside, and my top pick is actually number 6, Gold Luck. The faster they go early, the better Gold Luck's chances figure to be. Gold Luck thrives making one run, going 6 furlongs, and if you look at his local record, you see 13 starts at Churchill Downs, 5 wins, 3 seconds, and a third. He loves it here. And if you look at some of the company that he's kept, if you look back at the race 2 back, that winner came back to win it next asking. If you look at the race 3 back at Oaklawn, that was a stakes race where he couldn't run on Lasix, so you throw that out anyway. The 1st place finisher, the 2nd place finisher, and the 3rd place finisher all came back to win it next asking. Gold Luck's got a lot of class, and I think there's a chance he gets the exact race shape that he wants. I'm also going to throw in number 5, Cat on Time, and this is a defensive use for me simply because I can never figure out David Jacobson's barn. If I don't use David Jacobson, he booms me. If I use him and rely on him heavily, weird things happen. What I do know is the last out effort at Ellis Park was pretty darn good. He's got back form that is very competitive with these. Earlier this season at Churchill, he ran Harrodsburg to a head with a late running style. I think there's a chance Cat on Time is another one that's going the right direction late. My strategy is to pick one of those two front runners. I went with Harrodsburg over Champlin, and I'm going to use Cat on Time and Gold Luck in case the race completely falls apart. I'm 5, 6, and 7 in here.
All right, and then we move on to the payoff leg. Race 10, maiden claimer, going 1.16 miles here on the main track. Andrew, where did you land here?
What a mess. I landed in many different directions. I have absolutely no confidence in here. Singling in that first leg proves to be key in terms of trying to play an economical ticket. I'm 5 deep in here to try to finish this out. And if you look at these horses, you wind up seeing some that were very well meant at an earlier age. Number 2 Pacific Standard was an $80,000 yearling purchase, was originally in the Brad Cox barn at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Didn't run bad. We haven't seen this horse for about 11 months. There's reason to believe that there's some stuff that's happened since then. $80,000 yearling purchase, runs well twice over in Indiana, comes back for a $30,000 tag off the layoff of 11 months. What's going on here? The 6 Magnificent Rags. Yes, I'm using the horse off of a drop in class. It's a case where I don't think he got much of a pace last time out at Ellis Park. I think he gets more of a pace here, stretching out to 2 turns for Kenny McPeak with a pedigree that insists 2 turns is absolutely what he wants. But I don't think you can have a whole lot of confidence in any runner in this particular field. I mean, I'm looking at a couple of horses in here, and the ones that I'm most partial to are pretty big prices. Let's take a look at the 5 Sinatra, which hits me as a Josh horse because there's a lot of early speed in this particular horse, stretching out to 2 turns. Now, if you look at his races at Churchill, at Ellis, you don't see a lot of stamina, right? I look at this pedigree. I see Justify on top. I see Fusaichi Pegasus on the bottom. That's a Triple Crown winner on top, out of a mare by a Kentucky Derby winner. I don't think 2 turns is going to be much of a problem. I think he gets in very light on weights at 110 pounds, and I think it's a case where the apprentice jockey gets some very simple instructions. Go! That's it. That's the extent of the pre-race conversation. You go for as fast as you can, as long as you can, and you see what happens. Now, the other horse in here that I'm intrigued by at a big price for a barn that doesn't do this very often is the 7 Cool Andy. Cool Andy sold for $500,000 at the Fasig-Tipton sale in October of 2023. He has done no running at all, whatsoever. This is a horse that has been last of 12 twice. So what's going on here? Well, this horse has had the ultimate equipment change since that last start. He's been gelded. He drops in to face Maiden Claiming Company for the very first time. He also runs on dirt for the very first time. He debuted at Turfway, didn't run a jump on the synthetic. They put him away for 6 months. He comes back on the turf at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. Doesn't run all that well, but to be fair, that race came back well with a couple of next out winners. I see Luis Saez hopping aboard when he likely had several options. Josh, I'm intrigued. I think there are a number of horses in here at big prices that you could potentially throw into your ticket. One of which, the last horse I'm going to mention here, the 8 Come to Papa, who is a smooth 0 for 15 lifetime. I usually don't like betting horses like this, but the races 2 and 3 back stack up with this group. So I'm going to throw that horse in here. I am 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8 to finish this out. And while I'm using a couple of horses that may take money, I'm hoping we get a price home to finish this out and make this pay.
Yeah, we have a couple horses in common here. I think the horse to beat is going to be the 2 Pacific Standard. I mean, to your point, I'm looking through this field, and you have horses that have a lot of chances already.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, give me the horses that haven't had a lot of chances at that point. The 2 looks like a horse that improved slightly second time out. He's got a barn change, is dropping, getting Lasix for the first time. A lot of things changing, but this horse doesn't have to improve much, I think, to beat this field. So I think that this is a worthy favorite here and is probably my top pick in this race. I agree with you as well about the 7, Cool Andy. This is the horse that's got 2 starts on 2 different surfaces. And, when I see Practical Joke, I tend to think, hey, this is a horse that wants to go mile, maybe mile and 16th on the dirt. So now this horse is getting on the dirt. Peter Urton is very good at this move, dropping out of maiden special weight to maiden claiming. He's 27% trainer when he does that. Gets Luis Saez aboard. And this is a horse that I think is going to get involved a little early. Maybe not necessarily get the lead, but I think this is a horse that's going to be, a couple lengths off. And I think with the ultimate equipment change, like you had mentioned, first time gelding, I expect a pretty large step forward for that horse. So I like the 7 in here as well. The 2 other horses that we have a little bit different, the 3 Edifice. This is a horse that debuted on a sloppy track and didn't really run. They tried him on turf, tried him on going a little bit longer on turf, and it just seems like he didn't move forward off that. But I do think if he can get back to fast dirt, with the the barn change to Mike Maker. Mike Maker's just got a way of getting these horses first off the claim and get them to go and get them to run route distances. I mean, that's just his thing. Now, generally, it's usually more often on the turf that he's known for doing that, but he's nearly 20% first off the claim, and gets Tyler Gaffleone aboard, which Tyler Gaffleone he's a different jock at Churchill Downs. He's just a different guy in Kentucky. Yeah, I like Edifice here in this spot. And then the 11, Beck's Dreamer. We talked about Dale Romans earlier. He doesn't tend to win early very often, but this is a horse that's now coming on his 3rd start. And this is a horse that has moved forward each start, his 2 starts. And then he's also added distance on each of these starts. So I think that maybe this is a horse that Dale has kind of wanted to build up to kind of go these longer distances. And so I think that, 3rd up for this horse, and a horse that looks like he's improved. I think that he just stacks up very well with this field. So I'll use the 11 in here as well. But yeah, I'll be 4 wide. I'll be 2, 3, 7, and 11 in this spot.
With Beck's Dreamer, I think it's really, really cool that we see a name on the bottom that we don't see a whole heck of a lot in pedigrees. That's Bowman's Band. Bowman's Band goes back about 20 years. That's it's an old pedigree right there. You see Bowman's Band out of a Cape Town mare. That's some old school stuff right there for those that are old enough to know. Yeah, you see the past performances if you're watching us on the YouTube channel. You see a horse that contested the Breeders' Cup Classic in 2004, which was won by Ghost Sapper. I did think Alan Jerkins was the one that trained that horse. He danced a lot of dances on the New York circuit, 2nd and 3rd a lot in some very big races behind some very, very nice horses. And I got to tell you, I love these lifetime past performances that the Daily Racing Form puts up. It's so cool being able to take a deep dive through history like that when you stumble upon a name like that. So thank you for indulging me there, Josh.
Yeah, anytime. Anything else on this card?
It's a good card. It's an all dirt card, of course. You're looking at Churchill. So we liked this late pick 4 sequence because there were some really big fields. I believe we're at 8, 13, 8, and 11. It's a good sequence. My ticket winds up being $37.50. It's one of my favorite valuations simply because it is so quirky. We're going to try to get a single home in race number 7, and we've spread a little bit elsewhere in hopes that we can maximize value from our strongest opinion, which you should always try to do when you're playing a sequence like this. If we're able to get a price or 2 home around my single, who's likely to go off as the favorite in race number 7, I think we could well be looking at a sequence where you're looking going, wait, there's no bonkers prices in here. How did this pay $200? Because we've got big fields later on with very little in the way of overwhelming favorites. These are good betting races. If you're looking for a fun card, Friday at Churchill definitely ticks that box.
Yep, and I posted Andrew's ticket here if you're watching on YouTube. 6 with 2, 6, 8, 11, 13 with 5, 6, 7 with 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is a $37.50 ticket. And then my ticket, hopefully I did this math right, is 8.
You did.
With 2, 3, 11, 13 with 2, 7 with 2, 3, 7, 11. That's a $16 play for 50 cents. Just looking a little different with that single there. So no consensus ticket. Obviously, we got a couple of horses in common. We both like the 2 and the 11 in that second leg. Oh, and the 13, and then we both like the 7 in leg 3, and then we both like the 2 and the 7 in leg 4. So you could maybe we could build something there with using both our singles in that first leg. But I thought it was an interesting sequence. When you suggested it, I was like, man, all dirt Churchill, but. I do think that there's a couple of prices in here that you might be able to get.
There are. Every once in a while, I know how to evaluate a card and find wagering opportunities there, Josh. Every once in a while, you got to trust your co-host. Sometimes good stuff happens.
Well, what do you got going on this weekend, Andrew?
All right, I get to plug something. That I'm pretty excited about. I am hopping on over at America's Best Racing for a special 2-hour stream on Saturday for Woodbine Mile Day up in the Great White North. There's a couple of Grade 1 races. Thank you very much. There's the Woodbine Mile, there's the Summer, and the Natalma, along with some Grade 3 races that I think are pretty fun. So you can take a look there. If you know my stuff for the last couple of years, I used to host another podcast called Champagne and JD. My co-host is JD Fox. We're getting the band back together. I believe we may have some appearances from Josh, a friend of ours, the Wolf of Oak Lawn, Mr. Chase Sessoms, who I believe is currently going through customs over at Pearson Airport. I think they may have found something in his bag. So hopefully they wind up freeing him from whatever airport jail he winds up going in. Love you, buddy. Looking forward to chatting on Saturday. But very grateful to the folks over at ABR for allowing me to be able to do that. That is always a blast. We're going to have a really good time. We're planning on starting around 3:45 Eastern, about 12:45 out here on the West Coast. So plenty of time to see how the track is playing, gather your past performances before some of the big races start in the back half of that card. Really looking forward to that one. When this gets posted on YouTube, I will try to post a link or some publicity in the comments section so that y'all can scroll down and give that a click if that's something you're interested in. Woodbine's card on Saturday is a good one. You'll wind up getting shippers from all over the place. There is no racing on the E.P. Taylor turf course, though. They are renovating that course. They're using the inner. So I'm very much looking forward to when a rider decides to try to go to the wrong turf course in the post parade and some outrider has to correct them. I've gotten some mileage out of that joke already, but looking forward to that one. Hopefully you are too. If you're looking at Woodbine for Saturday, give us a watch. It'll be a lot of fun. We'll try to give you some winners, and we'll try to entertain you, put a smile on your face, as well as increase your bankroll.
That's going to do it for us here on Drank and Champagne. Check us out at ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. He is at Andrew Champagne. No live stream this week. I'll be out of town or out of pocket, but we will have a episode of You've Gotta Be Shot-Tinning Me Friday night, and then we'll see. We might do some live stuff with Hong Kong on Saturday. TBD. Let me talk it over with my co-hosts. But good luck, everybody. Let's make some money.